I'm Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Today, we're going to talk to you. Now, maybe I should say, in the past, we have talked about the idea of the tarot and darkness. We talk about that in the wintertime. When we were sort of, getting into springtime, we talked about the tarot and how we see emerging light. We've got the solstice coming in just a few days, and we thought it would be wonderful to continue that journey and talk about where we see light and joy in the tarot. So those cards that would be, linked to the idea of that full sun. So here in the northern hemisphere, the solstice is the time, it's the longest day of the year. It's where we have the most light. And I always think it's an interesting season for us because it's like, we kind of emerge into our full selves. Everybody wants to be outside and partying and picnics and experiencing all the joy that life has to offer. So those concepts of light and joy really link nicely to this time of the year here. And we thought, wow, what a great way to pull some of the cards out of the tarot intentionally and talk about those cards that cover the concepts of either light or joy or both. So that's what you're getting today, light and joy from the tarot, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. So we hope that if you've got ideas and we haven't covered them, if there's cards you think that should be in this mix and we didn't talk about them, we certainly hope that you will add your opinions and your ideas in the comment section wherever you're watching or listening. So having said that, hey, Bonnie, how are you? It's been a while. I think it's been like 3 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks.
I think so. Yes, it's been a while. I've missed recording an episode with you. So this is fun. And I love this topic, Peter. Peter came up with this topic. I'll tell everybody that. And I think it's so great because a lot of times when we think about the tarot, or maybe people who are curious about the tarot, they think that it's kind of like a scary thing or like a dark thing. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there's so much joy and light in the deck, right? So we're hoping that, I'm going to make a pun here, like illuminate that for you. And show you that there's so much positivity and joy in the deck. It's not just, doom and gloom, which is what a lot of people think the tarot is. So we're hoping to sort of, shift that perspective today.
Yeah, I know. And it's unfortunate because I think it's where tarot sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap because, I think there are times where people experience that through a reader, or they experience sometimes through information they find. And I won't lie, there is a lot of kind of doom and gloom information out there about the tarot. And I would agree with you 100% that the tarot as a tool, of course, there are some pretty dark cards and we've covered them, but sometimes those can be lessons learned or opportunities for growth. But there is also pure joy and celebration and light in many of the cards. And we're going to look at some of those today. So I think some of my favorite cards come in that category. So
yeah, I agree. I'm really excited.
All right. So why don't you start? You want to give us I did the intro. And
you did the intro. Okay, so I'm going to start with the card that I think, I guess we should show the card. I should have gone through my deck to find the card that I'm going to talk about. This card, while I search for it, I'm just going to put it out there. What do you guys think I'm going to pull as the joyous, lightest card in?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go through my deck at the same time and see whether or not, because we're working with two different decks today, see whether or not the card that I think you're going to pull is the same card.
Is the same card?
Yeah, because, And of course, it would be, there we go. I found the
You
card.
found yours
I found
already?
the card
Mine's
that
gonna-
I think you're going to pull. So
Okay. Oh my God, where is it? I should have done this.
should we do it on the
ahead of
count of
time.
3 when you find yours? And
Oh,
see-
like we both show it at the same time?
see whether or not I was right.
Yeah. Okay. Give me a second. It's literally like
it's gonna
probably.
be the bottom card.
Okay, I
It's
got it.
It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. You
Okay.
ready? So
Okay.
we're gonna show it at the same time.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Okay.
3.
1.
Okay,
2.
go ahead. Sorry.
You know, 3, 2, 1. I'm 1, 2, 3.
I know,
Okay.
I know. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
It was the sun.
The sun. Yes.
Look at
I'm
that.
using.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I'm using Tarot of Mystical Moments by
nice.
Katrine Wells Stein. So I pulled the sun, which I'm pretty sure everybody guessed the sun.
Yeah.
If we think about the card that is associated with joy, sunlight, success, happiness, just sheer contentment, I would say the sun is one of those cards, if not, like a lot of people also refer to if they're reading tarot as like yes or no, the sun is often the yes card. Like if you're looking for a yes answer, that is typically one of the cards. So I when I'm doing readings for people and the sun shows up, I relate it to that feeling of, it's actually funny because today is my daughter's last day of school. It's funny that we're talking about this today. It's like that feeling of the last day of school, like in elementary school, probably more so, but it's like when it's the last day of school and you just have this like excitement and energy like coursing through your body that's almost uncontrollable. That's the kind of feeling that I get from the sun card. It's like this just sheer joy.
No, you don't have to tell me. I spent 11 years as a teacher,
That's right, you're a teacher.
19 years as a vice principal and principal.
And a principal.
I know the feeling of that pure joy in the last day of school. From a student's
you could-
perspective, got to feel it as a student, like feel it from the student. It's almost palpable. Almost palpable.
Yes, I was going to say, could you imagine like bottling that energy from like the whole school of that feeling of just like, oh my God, it's the last day of school. It's that kind of joy. So that's my first pick, Peter. What do you, I mean, the sun card has so many things.
Yeah.
Like if we think about also the idea of the sun being able to sort of cut through the fog. So if there's like you're at a pointed time in your life and you get the sun card and you're not really feeling that, you're like, oh great, the sun, but like I'm in the total opposite of what the sun is telling me right now. It's like that opportunity to cut through some of that fog, so that you can see clearly. I also think about it too as like vulnerability. Sometimes it's really hard for us to shine and to be in the light, which is what the sun is projecting. So sometimes the sun card, although it's such a happy card, can kind of be a little difficult for people because it means like you're radiating, you're coming out, it's shining this light. And sometimes people don't want to feel that or they're not ready to step into that. So I have another thing I'll add, but I'll let you talk. I've done a lot of talking about the sun right now. So,
because I think of it in a lot of ways, exactly what you said. I think of the sun as spotlight. It's like nature's spotlight. And it does a few things. It does all the things like we can feel the warmth, we can feel the joy. There are a couple of things I would add. Sometimes it's too much. It is a light that is too bright. So to go back to your example, the idea of that excitement and joy that gets bottled up inside of a school, many people are looking forward to that, and some can't take it. For some, it's too much.
Too much.
It might be that, for whatever reason, there is just too much excitement. It's overstimulating. And then the other thing that the sun also does, and you talk about that concept of vulnerability, I always think, when the sun is shining overhead, what disappears? The shadow. So, we're kind of left in that position that is all light, but is at times also incomplete. And it is at times sometimes false as well, because we all have kind of a shadow side. And sometimes what the sun does, although it highlights things that need to be highlighted, sometimes it also means that we forget that there are some other things that need to be dealt with as well. So, and don't get me wrong, I think the card is beautiful. Like you said, it's the yes of the major arcana when you're doing, kind of the yes and no. There's a real authenticity to it as well. There is sometimes that concept that says don't let your strong light, or don't let, if your light is too strong for others, don't let that be the cause of dimming the light. The sun is a great card for that too, that says what you need to do is step into the light, whether you feel comfortable with it or not. The situation is calling for you to be your brightest and best self. That the sun is often the card that says that, but like you alluded to, it's not always easy, but it's usually required. So that's, I think, where people stumble with it, is when they see a card like the sun that calls them to be bright and authentic and out there, is that they're not prepared or willing or, sometimes able to do that. So.
Yeah, I love that too, Peter. And the other thing that I attribute to the sun card, like usually when sometimes like tarot is funny, we get these like super positive cards and we're like, okay, right. Okay, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, it's almost easier to get like one of the cards that are a little bit more difficult. But when the sun shows up for me, a lot of times it's about looking at what I already have in my life and being grateful for that. So I also see it as an opportunity for me to practice gratitude and really seeing the beauty that is already in my life now, like illuminating that for me. So it's always that reminder to be like, Bonnie, things are really good. And instead of focusing on the things that you don't have, like, let's start looking at all of the abundance that's in your life now, because the sun is life. The sun is growth. The sun is also birth. So sometimes people can attribute a birth to the sun card. So anyway, that's also my perspective about that. Usually it's my reminder to be like, it's okay to shine, and it's okay to just really see what you have and be grateful for that. Because just thinking about something that we're grateful for automatically shifts your energy and your perspective. So
yeah, you're always great at reminding that gratitude is a concept that is in so many cards. You talk about the pentacles, and I've borrowed/stolen that from you,
which I'm sure I got from someone else.
Well, and then the idea of the sun too, right? The idea of the sun, and yeah. I think it was kind of funny. We both figured, that was the card that you talked about first. It would have been the one I would have talked about first as well, because I think it's the obvious choice, especially since from a celestial perspective, it's actually the sun that is the reason why we're talking about. The solstice. It's the position of the sun. It's the sun crossing into zero Cancer that creates that space that becomes the longest day of the year. Well, the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere anyway. So shortest day of the year, the southern hemisphere. So,
yes.
All right.
Okay, so do you have a card, Peter?
I mean, I have several, but I think the next one, and then I thought, I didn't pull them all. And what I'm going to say instead is, instead of us taking the time to pull the cards, use a deck and, as we mentioned them, pause the podcast, go and get the card in whatever deck and see whether or not the concepts are, attributable to the deck that you've got. Or I'm using Ethereal Visions Tarot by, I think it's Matt Hughes. I think I was trying to look for the name
of the box right here.
Well, I've got the box too, but it doesn't say it on the box. Oh yeah, Matt Hughes. There you go. It says it on the back. All right, Matt Hughes. So that's the one I'm using, and I could probably. The next kind of one I put on my list was the Ten of Cups. And I thought the Ten of Cups, I thought about the Ten of Pentacles as well, but I thought we're talking about the idea of joy and celebration, which usually comes from a space of emotion and love. It's a feeling that we have. And feeling is the space of cups. Now, I say the Ten of Cups with a caveat, because I think the portrayal and the meaning of the card is often, that idea of the story ends in the best possible way. It ends with, kind of the fairy tale ending or the Hallmark ending or, whatever kind of pathway, you decide you want to go down, or the heated rivalry ending if, you're Canadian and looking for, the wonderful, most, recent love story that, that proudly comes out of this country. Whatever it is that you're looking at, I think that concept of joy definitely comes from the cups. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the images that you would see if the cards are depicting a scene in the Ten of Cups is always one of joy and celebration. And I think that's often what the card means. It often means, and sometimes it's an overabundance of, or it's definitely an abundance of that, all of those heart things. Now, I say that with a caveat because I think tens can represent often that over the top exaggeration. So in the same way the sun can be too much light, the Ten of Cups can be too much cup stuff as well. So it can be too much gratitude, so much so that, but it can be too much emotion, too much love. And that's where I think the Ten of Cups is an opportunity then. If your cup is overflowing, what opportunities can you have to be able to share that in other spaces with other people? So, I think that Ten of Cups is a good kind of card more around the concept of joy than of light. But we had talked about the idea of light and joy. And then an opportunity, if you're talking about, that idea of light being that true authentic self, Ten of Cups is a good opportunity for us to be able to share what we have in our hearts with others too, that we have so much in whatever area that happens to be that we can help share. So that's my take of the Ten of Cups. What about you? Would you have selected that? I'm curious. Would you have selected that card? And, if so, what would you add? And if not, then I'm curious. Why not? So
why not? Yes, 100%. I would have added the Ten of Cups. That's another one of those cards that when it shows up, it's just like, it's just all of a sudden you just feel this like rush of like joy running through your body. I love the idea when I look at the Ten of Cups, because quite often there's a rainbow in the card, and I think about that as the present moment. And I think there's so much joy in the present moment that a lot of times we overlook. So when there's a rainbow, if you're driving or you're somewhere and you see a rainbow, you're like, oh my God, there's a rainbow. And you stop what you're doing and you just look in awe at the beauty of this rainbow, which is, comes through the light, right? Like through the rain. So I really do believe that as much as it is a card of like joy and success and family and all of those things, 100%, I also think it reminds us of the joy that's actually in this present moment. And we don't a lot of times live in the present moment because we're nervous about the future, we're regretting something about the past, but there's so much joy in this moment now. A lot of the times we're creating all of that suffering that's not even happening right now. We're just thinking about it. So I think the true joy comes from really reflecting on that. But also when I see that, for me, it's like family. Like when I see that card, it's like not a punch to the gut, but that feeling of like, oh, I love my family so much. And it's like the things that I can do and appreciate with my family. So it really is a beautiful, happy, wonderful card. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned family too, because it is a card of that. And I always think about my nuclear family, which for me, my wife, my kids, their partner. But then I also think about my chosen family, which are some friends, who have almost become like, brothers or sisters to me as well. Just because of, certainly a challenging relationship that I would have with other aspects of my family. So I think it's a card that reminds me of family-like love, whether or not it's part of your family, and your chosen family, right? So it does have that family kind of piece to it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I just wanted to add a little something because I wasn't thinking about this card initially, but I was like, why didn't I think about this card before we move on to the other ones? The Nine of Cups is also one of those cards that can really introduce a lot of joy and love. And when I was talking earlier about the sun card being like if there's something that you're wanting to do, this is like that opportunity to say yes. I find that as well with the Nine of Cups. Yeah. So when the Nine of Cups shows up in a reading, for me, that's a really positive message, and really just focusing on what it is that you desire and knowing that that's possible for you. So I wasn't thinking about that one initially, but since we're so close to that, I thought I'd see that 9 in there too. Yeah. I don't know if you agree with me or not, Peter, but
it actually kind of made my short list. Like, there were a few. The Empress was another one that kind of feels the same as the Nine of Cups.
Yep.
And I was thinking that concept of light and joy. I agree. I think that, and in some ways, the nines for me are often more of that, that success, that idea of completeness, because the tens do have a little bit of, an over-exaggeration kind of piece to them. In some ways, they're almost not grounded in reality, whereas the 9 is a much more grounded card. It's that idea of celebrating what I've achieved, or celebrating whatever, depending on kind of the area. So for sure, I would definitely agree with you on the Nine of Cups, right? On the Nine of Cups. So
yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Do we go to the next one?
Yes, to the next card.
Okay. Well, I kind of added an extra one in there, but
I did too. I mentioned the Empress as well, which,
yeah, which I 100% agree with too. And generally in the Empress, there's the sun shining. She's in a beautiful field. Yeah, all the things.
Yeah. The only thing with the Nine of Cups, though, is and maybe it's just because I've got the Rider-Waite in my head. I often see that card as one of a little bit of hubris, because, the Nine of Cups is the guy, he's sitting and he's almost making himself, it's almost a look what I have, kind of, I can almost hear the voice coming out. It's like, oh, well, look, my 9 cups behind me and I'm just going to sit here in the middle. So, anyways.
It's true. I'm not a fan of that.
I think his name is Chip in there, in the thing. All right. So my name's Chip, and I'm just sitting here. Look at all my things. So sorry.
Look at all my things. Yes. Yeah. I don't think that card really depicts the energy of what that card is. Like,
yeah.
I agree with you. I'm not a fan of that card in that particular deck.
In the deck.
And when other people replicate that, say, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much you could do with the beauty of the Nine of Cups, but you keep bringing up this image of like some strange looking person in that, right? Like some of that, it's just like, yeah. Okay. So we agree on.
All right. I agree. That was, that was just where I was going with that card. So.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that too. The other card that I would say that evokes so much joy, and again, probably people will resonate with this already thinking about it. We're still in the realm of cups, but I would say the 3 of Cups. So whereas I think about family in the 10, I think about 3s as like your friends, like your like ride or dies. Like those are your people that you just love, and they love you back exactly the same, right?
It's your Thelma and Louise, right? That's your...
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully you don't drive off a cliff.
Hopefully, but you would, right?
You would for them, yeah. Yeah, and it's just, that card to me is just sheer joy. It's celebration, without really needing a reason even, right? Like, you're not celebrating something because you're just having a moment of pleasure and joy and celebration, and really honoring and uplifting each other. So I love the 3 of Cups. I have a group of friends. There's 3 of us, and we call ourselves the 3 of Cups. So it's just a really beautiful, fun, joyful card. So and it's usually good in most decks.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm trying to think of a card of a deck where it's not, and I can't.
Yeah. So I say, I call 3 of Cups. What about you, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument coming from me at all. And I think it partly because of the image it often gets depicted, but also because it's early in the trajectory of the cups, I think there's an element of youthfulness and innocence that card as well, that it is joy for the sake of joy. There's no hidden agenda. It's we're going to celebrate, and we're just going to celebrate because celebrating feels good. You know, I think the modern version of that would be, you know, night out of the club or whatever it would happen to be. It's like we're celebrating, and you talked about that previously with the 10 in the idea of present moment. And I think the 3 of Cups really does focus on that idea of celebrating what is in the here and now, and not worrying about, you know, what's going to come tomorrow. You know, it's literally a celebration of what feels good in the moment, and, you know, not worrying about what's happening, and celebrating sometimes just for the sake of celebration, that there doesn't have to be a purpose. There doesn't have to be an ulterior motive. You know, there doesn't have to be an occasion. It's literally just, I feel good around these people, and I'm going to celebrate that. And celebrating, or, you know, doing whatever that happens to be, it feels good around these people. So this is what we're going to do. So, yeah, I would never argue with that card.
Yeah, and I love that idea too of the present moment in the 3 of Cups, because it's true when you're gathered with your friends and you're, you know, just being in that moment, like, you're not really thinking about hopefully you're not sitting around complaining. If you are, that's not a 3 of Cups moment. But yeah, just and I think about too, Peter, I have to say, because I recently saw your band play, and those are real 3 of Cups moments, right? I was there with my husband, I was there with my daughter, and when you're listening to music and you're so in the moment, and it just like, it's that feeling again that like goes through the body, like it's palpable. When you pull those cards, you can put yourself in that setting and really feel the joy that's coming from that. So I love that idea of the present moment in the 3 of Cups as well. So thanks for that reminder too.
Yeah, and that's almost that concept of, you know, I think of it because you mentioned the idea of the band performance. I get the same emotion, but I get it from that perspective of flow, that idea of, you know, of focus, but also that idea of emotional contentment, that, you know, things are just going the way that they need to go. And I think of that, you know, that evening in particular, because it was the first time that we kind of done full set, public bar, you know, people we knew, but also people that just kind of walked in off the street. And it was such a good night. And, you know, I think of the joy that came from the crowd when we were finished. You know, those kind of moments are true. And the fact that I play in the band with my son as well, which, you know, from a father's perspective is a huge, to me, I would name the band 3 of Cups if, one, we weren't 6 people, and, you know, we didn't already have a name.
3 of Cups squared. No, right? That wouldn't be squared, but it would be double.
Yeah, double. But yeah, that idea of really getting lost almost in the moment. And it's those moments too where in some ways they almost feel fleeting, because they feel like they go so quickly, because we're not stuck in time. We're not looking at the clock going, oh, okay, I got to do this for another 45 minutes, or, you know, I'm stuck here. It's like, it's usually, where the heck did the time go, and does it have to end? So, you know, I think too that idea of, does this sensation have to end, is very much kind of attributed to the 3 of Cups. And I think the 3 of Cups would say, well, no, you know, carry that. If there were 3 cups that bring it together, the one thing you can walk away with, you know, is your own cup, and hold that feeling in it when you're not in those moments of celebration as well. Right. So.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, this is a great example. All right, is it my turn?
It's your turn.
I know, and I'm looking at my list, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to kind of pick one more, and I might go out on a limb with this one, because I had a few choices. I'm going to go with the Fool, and I think probably because, and maybe more joy than light, and probably linked to the idea I just talked about with that concept of getting lost in the moment. The Fool isn't thinking about before and isn't thinking about after. The Fool is thinking about right now. And I think that's the mentality that we need to be able to truly sit in the feeling of joy. So I think of all the major arcana characters, the Fool might be the one that is best equipped to receive joy, whether it was from the Sun or from the Three of Cups or from the Nine of Cups or from the Ten of Cups, any of the cups, wherever it happened to come from. I think the Fool is a good receiver, a good receptacle of that. I think it requires an element of innocence and it requires an element of naivety, but I think that's the card I'm going to pick. That's that idea of, when we talk about light and joy, so maybe a little less light, but the idea of the Fool walking down the path to eventually try and find their light. If we think of the major arcana as the Fool's journey, the Fool kind of taking their step. They have to take 19 steps before they find their true self, right? The Sun is card 19 and the Fool is card 0. They're going through all the different lessons of life, trying out different things, meeting different people, trying different masks on from themselves. And it isn't until they get to almost to the end of the journey that they find the Sun, which would be their true kind of radiant self, but they're at least open to the journey of all the cards that are there. They're open to receiving kind of joy and light. So maybe a little bit of an outlier, but that's the card I chose for this one. I don't know. What are your thoughts there, Bonnie?
Yeah, again, I completely agree with you. And I would say the Fool has light in it as well, because in most, I'm going to say most, there's so many tarot decks out there. Yeah. If we think about the Fool, there's usually a sun in the Fool card, right? Like in the background. And it is shedding light on this new opportunity, this new adventure. And it's true what you say. It's like the Fool isn't thinking about the future or the past. They're just going along on their way, and they're about to step off this cliff, whether they're aware of it or not, but they're ready to take that step to, dive in, right? The Fool is unlimited potential, and knowing that taking that step, taking that leap of faith, you're going to be supported no matter what. And it's the things in life that we regret not doing, right? Like, we're never going to know if we don't do something. So it doesn't mean everything is going to work out, but even just taking that step, going on that adventure, you're going to find your path. So I love that idea about the Fool. It is and if we think about the lightness in terms of energy, the Fool is probably the lightest card, because he or she is walking with lightness. They just carry this little bag. They have everything they need with them. It isn't this card that brings in all this heaviness or all this baggage, because it's just ready for something brand new. So absolutely, I think that's a perfect card to include in this, and on so many different levels. So yeah. Fool all the way.
Well, and I mean, you talk about it being light, it's the element of air. So, I mean, it is a light card, right? There is not a lot of weight. It's not no weight, but there's very little mass to air. So, the Fool would be the same thing. Very, very kind of light card, as in doesn't weigh very much. Right. And I was thinking, because you're right, the idea, I actually forgot about the idea of the Sun. And for some reason, the Fool that I was envisioning was kind of the Seeker card in the Gaian Tarot, which is not a Fool that's about to step off a cliff,
right?
But a Fool that's about to step onto a path. I think Danielle Norman's the Winter Season Tarot does the same thing. It's a Fool that's looking to walk. They're at the start of a journey. I think they're just outside their home, and there's a path in front of them. They haven't taken it yet, but they're kind of walking. They're ready to walk along that journey, to go. And like, okay, well, whatever I find, like in a lot of ways, it's almost a precursor to that Three of Cups. It's like, you know what? Yeah. Hey, I'm just ready to celebrate the moment. I'm here, ready to take my first steps, ready to go. That was my choice.
Well, a good choice. I agree with the Fool. And, this episode could probably be 5 hours long, because the more we talk about it, the more it's like, oh, I can think of this card. Oh, I can think of that card. So just to let people know, there are so many cards in the deck that do evoke this feeling of lightness, this feeling of joy, this feeling of seeing things, right? Like insight from a different perspective as well. So yeah, I think this is great.
Any honorable mentions that you would be like cards where you're like,
So many. Okay, what am okay. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite cards in the deck. This also might be a stretch. I pulled this card for myself this morning. I pull this card a lot because this is the card who I want to be in the tarot. And if you've listened to past episodes, you probably know what I'm going to say. The Queen of Wands. For me, so wands, right? Like we could talk about wands as well as being that source of light. And when we think about that source of light, it's like, what is that light, that fire that's ignited within us? So when I think about wands, I think about passion, creativity, and really doing the things that you absolutely love to do. And that doesn't come without challenge, of course, because there's some challenging cards in the wands, but I really do think of it as that suit of like, this is like what I love. And the Queen of Wands, what I love about her is that she's just unapologetically herself. She shows up, she comes into a room and she's not worried about what she looks like, or she's not self-conscious. She's just standing in her own power, but not in an arrogant type way, in a like, this is who I am. And because I'm this way, it's like it gives other people permission to show up in the same way. And I think it's so important, in life, especially as women. I'm sure men go through this as well, but we're so self-conscious about the way we look, or the things that we have. Like we tie so much of ourselves to things that are outside of us, and we never truly stand in our own beauty, like in what we have to offer, and we often don't allow that light to shine. So the Queen of Wands represents that to me. I struggle with a lot of those things in my own life, and every time I get that card, I'm like, it's okay for me to just be me. There's nothing that I have to do to be different. And if I can do that, then that means other people can do that as well. So she gives me so much inspiration and so much permission to do the things that I love to do and show up without apology. So I'm going Queen of Wands.
Yeah.
How about you, Peter?
Well, I'm not gonna add anything. I'm just gonna let that comment sit exactly where it needs to sit. You said it perfectly. Nothing to add. So, I mean, for honorable mention cards, it would be a few. I would probably then kind of focus on the idea of the light. I'd go with the Hermit card, because, not all light has to shine brightly and not all light has to be external. So I think the Hermit is a good reminder of the idea of internal light. It is that guide that comes from within. So in a lot of ways, and I was trying to think, where does it sit? It doesn't really sit, in conjunction with the Sun card, but in some ways, the Sun is very much the source of external light. It's that bright spotlight that shines on us. The Hermit is almost the opposite light. So, and by opposite, it's not the absence of light, because it's not a shadow-based card, but it is a light that talks about the inner light. And I think about, well, imagine what that combination of the Sun and the Hermit would be like. The idea of somebody both being able to shine their light forward in the Sun, but also understanding their own inner light, and doing that turn within to be able to also understand the self. So I don't know. I would, the Hermit would be an honorable mention for me also. The idea of turning within, know thyself, and maybe even know thyself before, you kind of put yourself, out there, or at least, do some of the work of knowing yourself enough before you kind of put yourself out there as the Sun.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, Peter, and I agree with you. And sometimes when people get the Hermit, they're like, the Hermit? But it is a precursor, right, to being able to shine your own light. And it's about finding that own light within, right? Like if we're constantly looking on the external for things to please us or make us happy or to figure things out, we're never going to find that. Everything lives within us. And the Hermit is the perfect example of that, of taking, and nobody else can do that for you except for you. It's funny, a few months ago, I went to Guatemala and we had a fire ceremony with a shaman, and what he was talking about was like, nobody can experience joy for you, like going to the bathroom. Nobody can go to the bathroom for you. You're the only one that can do that. And that's the same with joy. And that's the same with the hermit. Nobody can go on the hermit journey except for you. So nobody is going to find what it is you're looking for other than you. And as soon as you said hermit and I had finished talking about that Queen of Wands, I'm like, of course, the hermit is the precursor to being able to show up as the Queen of Wands or as the sun, because we don't believe a lot of times that we even have that within us, and we're always searching on the outside. So I love that idea of the hermit as the light, because again, once we find that light, we're shining that so that other people can find their own too. So not only does it help you, but it's helping other people as well.
Yeah, and a lot of cards, to add to that, a lot of cards have the hermit with a source of light as well. And then I wonder whether or not, is that sort of the hermit after the self quest that says, you know what, yes, it's hard, but it's doable. And if you want, I can't do the work for you. Like, I love that. I can't go to, you can go to the bathroom for you.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. And the hermit will hold a torch, or, in some it's like in the inner light in kind of the solar plexus, but it's lighting up to say, I can show you a path to follow, but it won't be the same path that I followed. But it's doable, and here's an example. So
yeah. I love that, Peter. Such a great conversation today. And we could keep going because there's so many more cards, right?
I know. But we had said we were going to draw a card. You had come up with a beautiful question, actually, which was, I think, do you want to read it?
Sure, I'll read it. And then people can pull their own card or reflect on this after. And then do we each want to pull a card then based on this question?
Sure.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you my question and then we'll just... okay, so what part of me is ready for more light right now?
Yeah. That's because... I said, the time of the year for us anyways here, in the north of the equator, is the time of the most light. Oh, I love that question. What part of me is ready for more light right now?
No. I think I'm even going to do this on the solstice.
Yeah, it's a great question. I know we've already talked about, sort of some of the little ritualistic work, and we've got our fire pit. I'll kind of do two things. Around the solstice, and one is think about what's got to go away, and then the other one is to think, so two pieces of paper, one piece of paper that will go into the fire, and one piece of paper that will go into our pocket. And the thing for the piece of paper is, well, what am I ready to burn up? What no longer serves me? And the piece of paper will be, I think, well, what part of me is ready for more light? I think that's the question that fits the theme perfectly. I can't believe I drew this card.
Do you want to go first then?
Well, sure. So as I was, and I don't know if I was, because, this is something that we had talked about wanting to invite friends to, and we've got a dear friend of ours who's part of community theater, and they're putting on a production on the evening. So we would do this on Saturday night, because I think the solstice actually happens sometime during the day on Saturday, or on Sunday, but for us, Saturday night works well. And this is a card that we actually mentioned. I literally drew the Three of Cups. Now, you can't see it because of the shine, I think, on my light. But look at it's for those of you that are watching, it's a stunning card. For those of you that can't see it, it is the Luna edition of the Ethereal Visions Tarot. So the fact that I drew that Three of Cups with the question of what part of me is ready for more light, it's that part of me that looks to celebrate with other people, the idea that brings, my group together and that shines the light collectively. It's that idea that says that, yes, of course, I can bring joy into my own life, but imagine how much more joy I can bring when I choose my chosen family, or my actual family, or the people that, I share love and joy with, and I bring them together. So I was thinking about this ritual, to get back to that, is because we had thought about having it open to, to some of our friends and saying, look, come by, we're going to have a fire. If all you want to do is come and sit by the fire, come and do that. But if you'd like to make this a little bit more intentional, we have, two pieces of paper. This is what you can do with one. This is what you can do with the other. And just kind of leave that open and see if that joy, that connection of joy and celebration at the time of the solstice would actually suit some of our friends. And we know some that it would suit right away. We know some that would be like, no, thank you. But putting that ritual piece out to a larger group of people also invites that concept of vulnerability. But, the Three of Cups kind of says it's people that I feel emotionally connected enough that I can be my own authentic, my own true self. I can bring that sun, into my life. That part of me is ready to be more authentic and to be more vulnerable. So that's what I would get with the Three of Cups in that position. I can't believe I pulled the Three of Cups. So.
It's the tarot. The tarot is so cheeky.
I know. I say that having worked with the bloody thing for 40 years. It's like, I can't believe when it does that. It's like, at what point in time am I going to be like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, I get it.
I believe you now. Don't do anything. What would you say about the Three of Cups with that?
Yeah, I love that for you. I just on a personal level, I think that's an amazing idea. So I think that would be great and a lot of fun to do with friends.
Bonnie, you know where we are. You are welcome to join us. You would be included in my Three of Cups people, but.
Oh, thank you. I have my own Three of Cups. One of my dearest friends is coming over on Saturday night. It was just her birthday. So I'll be having a Three of Cups moment with her and her husband here. But I appreciate that. And I was already thinking, I'm like, oh, I hope Peter invites me. And then I was like, oh, I'm busy Saturday, but we can do that another time. But what I did want to say about the Three of Cups, and I love that for you as a personal reading. For me, if I got that card, it would remind me to have more of those moments. And I think for me, I live in this world of, I'm always healing and growing, but this perfectionist side of me that I don't often invite people over to my house because it's like, oh, I have to clean my house, or, I'm not organized enough, or things just have to be a perfect way. And I think I miss out on a lot of just enjoying time with friends, or I'm too busy, or I don't just pick up the phone and say, hey, what are you doing Saturday night? Or let's do this thing. I'm not very good at doing that. So it's a reminder for me how important it is to have your Three of Cups people, right? To have those moments and to not let the perfectionist side of you derail how much fun you can have with the people you love, because those people aren't judging what your house looks like, or, everything having to be a certain way. So, I love that. So for me, it's a reminder that I need to have more fun with my people because I think that's something that's lacking in my life right now. Not lacking, but I mean, I could do a better job of being more proactive and having those moments. So,
I mean, that's, and that's, I mean, it's a very vulnerable statement to make as well on a podcast too. So I always think that any of the cups puts us in spaces to be a little bit more vulnerable as well. So, in some ways you almost embody that cup-like energy just by making a statement saying, I would love to do this. And you're right. I think the Three of Cups is probably a calling that says you can gain sort of love, and connection, and emotion, the things that fill your cup by inviting other people into your life. So.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I feel really good about this. Now I get to share my wah card that I
pulled. Sure, a wah card.
Wow. This card tends to haunt me too. Sevens.
Is it the Seven of Swords that you drew?
No, it's not. It's the Seven of Wands.
Okay.
So again, I'm using the Tarot of Mystical Moments. This is the Seven of Wands. This guy looks pretty cool though. He's full of tattoos, which I love tattoos. And maybe this is the card that says I should go get another tattoo. But he's there is light behind him, which is funny because generally the Seven of Wands, there's not so much light in that card. And he's kind of standing behind bars and he's pulling them apart. So for me, the Seven of Wands represents really standing up for what it is that you believe in and honoring that, and not, and again, not needing other people's approval to do what it is that you feel really strongly about. So for me, this is really near and dear to my heart. I struggle a lot with this because I'm a people pleaser, and, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. I want people to like me, and, I kind of shapeshift and oh, how do you want me to show up? And I think the Seven of Wands is really about, again, sort of almost reflecting on that Queen of Wands energy of like just being you and doing the things that light you up, because this is a Wands card as well. So like what you're passionate about, and knowing that you're the person that's meant to do that thing, and don't worry about what other people are going to say or worry about, being criticized for that. And again, Peter, you know me, we were talking about this earlier. It's like me showing up in the tarot world of like, even the fact that we have this podcast and we're talking about that, it's really hard for me to, talk about my work in the world, in the tarot world, right? Like it's fine with people who understand this, but the people that are outside of this world who could be judgmental or critical, that's where I have a hard time talking about it. And I generally don't talk about that side of me. So I think this card is a reminder to be like, it's okay to keep going down this path. And if other people don't like it, that's okay, because that's their opinion and they have their own perspectives about it. So that's the light that I'm ready to see right now. And it just, again, is another reminder for that. So it fits in perfectly with what I'm going through right now. What would you have to say about that, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it would just to amplify and emphasize what you had already said. And I guess I would bring in, because, when I visualize that concept, the Seven of Wands, I see somebody who is, sort of is, and they're usually above others. And I always see, they're trying to stand solid on their ground, and there are people that are trying to knock them off their ground. And I always think, that Seven of Wands for me is a little bit stronger. It is basically an FU. I am going to stand my ground. And I'm not going to take criticism from you, because why would I take criticism from someone to whom I wouldn't turn to for advice? So, I always think you talk about the idea of in the tarot world, and, I can relate to that, because if are people that aren't connected, you kind of want to put yourself into a shell. And what the Seven of Wands says is, screw the shell, put yourself up on a stage. And, what part of you is ready for more light? It's that part of you that wants to stand in this space, even if it's standing alone, because often the Seven of Wands is standing alone in a space. It is a space that they feel elevates them, because they're usually in that kind of a position. And, it is one that says, I am going to take this spotlight. I'm going to sit in my light, and, I'm going to do it regardless. And I'll do it, regardless of support or lack thereof. If you want to support me, great. But if you don't want to support me, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. I love the strength of the Seven of Wands, because it does kind of say, yeah, look, putting yourself in a space that's important to you is not easy. Whether it's one that's linked to a particular political position, whether it's one choice of activity, but if it's something that is true to you, that lights you up like wands do, then the Seven of Wands says, then do that. And, I'll go back to the thing I said initially, and it was an idiom that I carried through my entire career. It's like, why on earth, why would I take criticism from somebody to whom I wouldn't turn to for advice?
I love that.
Yeah. That's like, you're going to criticize me. Great. And because you'd often wear it. Like if, you get in those Seven of Wands moments where you're like, and people are like, oh, they're trying to tear you down. And you're like, oh, you're starting to believe what they're saying. And you're like, wait a minute. I wouldn't come to you if I was looking for guidance. So why on earth am I going to take on your criticism? I don't care what your opinion is to begin with, And then once that kind of solidifies, so I think that the Seven of Wands, and obviously I'm passionate about this, but that Seven of Wands to me really does personify that idea is, I need to, and in the light of the question, what it means is, what part of me is ready for more light, it is that part of me that needs to be, no. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Like it or don't like it. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm going to take you, like what you just said about the FU. The Seven of Wands is going to be my FU card.
FU card, right?
I'm just going to do what I want to do. And if you don't like it, that's okay. That's your opinion, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's a card of initiative. It's a card of, again, and we've said this before, it's what lights you up. It's that fire that burns inside. So if that's what it is, who is somebody else to try and extinguish the fire?
Yeah. And it's a card of determination and to keep going. This isn't a card of like, oh, stop doing what you're doing. This is like, no, like you're in it and you're standing up for what you believe in. And that's, and the message, like, and keep going.
When you do that successfully, think of the card that comes after this one in sequence. It's the Eight of Wands. So after successfully, standing your ground and being to the naysayers, sorry, not for me. Then all of a sudden we take off. We swiftly move forward and
create that momentum.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So, that's some great cards that we drew.
We did. This was a great episode, Peter. Thank you for coming up with the concept of it.
I wouldn't do, I don't think the Seven of Wands is, I hope you're thinking of it differently. I wouldn't necessarily think it's a whap card. I think there's power in that seven. I think that Seven of Wands is a powerful card.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, it's that it is that energy of yes, I do have to stand up for what I believe in, right? So it's hard to do. Card. So it's a hard card. Yeah. And it's a card of again, you have to do that for you, right? Nobody's gonna defend you. You're the, and not saying defending in this fighting battle kind of way, but just being firm in your beliefs and being okay with that. So yeah.
You're right.
I'm gonna keep this out for a little while.
This Three of Cups card, I think it's going to sit. I might actually use it. I've got a little wooden card holder, so I might actually put it. I'm actually going to, not I might. It's going to leave it out, and then on Saturday night, I'm going to put it out and put it on the table that we're going to have. So it'll be one kind of pile of paper that will go into the fire. Then the Three of Cups will be on its stand. Then the other paper that's going to go into people's pockets. So that's actually on my list of things to do today or tomorrow, is to head out and to get some nice paper and nice writing utensils and stuff. But that Three of Cups is going to sit there. So
I love that. I think I'm going to pull the Three of Cups also and really celebrate. Instead of being all paranoid about my house, and I'm gonna appreciate the joy of being with friends who love you, right? And just want to be.
Somebody's not going to be drinking wine though, because there's only 3 cups. Sorry.
Well, you can add more people. It's just it's just a metaphor.
I know. All right.
Okay.
We're coming to the end. So
we're coming to the end. So we want to thank you all for joining us. It's our pleasure. Obviously, if you're listening, you know how much fun Peter and I have recording these episodes. And if you have your own ideas of cards that bring light and joy, we would love to hear your opinions, your comments. You can comment. You can send us a message. Also, if you love the podcast, please subscribe, tell all your friends. We would really appreciate that. And we're just really happy that you're here with us. And we thank you for joining us on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. And do you have anything you want to add, Peter?
No, nothing to add. If you are going to comment on us, so you can do it on any of the platforms you're on. But, if you want to leave us a review, you can always pop over to our website, which is tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com, and you can leave us a review there as well. So I always talk about the algorithms and say, any kind of interaction you do always helps put this podcast in front of more people. And as Bonnie mentioned, if you like it, then perhaps some of your tarot peeps will like it as well. So if they haven't discovered it yet, 77 episodes, a lot of information out there, lots of stuff for them to go and take a look at too. So that's all I would add.
And if you want to find anything about Peter or I, you can also go to tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com and you can learn a little bit more about me and Peter there as well. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next time on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Bye for now.